Welcome to Really Cool Stuff for the Home podcast, sponsored by HomeWerks. And now with today's show on all the ways to improve your home is your host, Denise Sanchez.
Hello, everybody. This is Denise with HomeWerks, Really Cool Stuff for the Home, where we offer some unique products that everyone would want to have in their home. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is a unique offering. This is an under-counter ice maker. And there's a lot of things that people don't understand about what makes ice makers that are under-counter different. So I am fortunate enough to have my distributor from one of the best, if not the best, ice maker out there by Perlick. And he is my rep from Maple Distributing out of Dallas. Charlie, nice to see you again. And
well, thanks for having me.
And Charlie is a wealth of knowledge. He's been around in the industry for many, many years. He even had his own business before. So he understands both sides of the business, and he is a wealth of knowledge. And he's a really cool guy too. Then we have Wilson Hawkins, right, Wilson?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay. And he has a tongue twister of a title. So I'm not going to say it. I'm going to make him say it. So he is with the manufacturer. We are very lucky to have someone from the manufacturer that can really expand on what these ice makers are. So what do you do for Perlick?
So my official title is Business Development Manager, but under that title, I'm also responsible for the Western region sales. So I get the opportunity to work and the pleasure to work with folks like Charlie and Maple Distributing. So I'm excited to be on and excited to talk some products. So thanks again.
So I want to talk first about Perlick, the company itself, because they're a very unique company. First of all, I love the fact that this is an American company. You know, we have some great foreign companies, but I always love when we can have something that we can say the best in the industry is, and it's made in the USA. That's a nice thing to say. Can't say it often enough. So, but can you give me a little bit of background about who and where Perlick came from?
Yeah, so Perlick is been around for over 100 years. And one of the beautiful things about Perlick as an organization is it's still family owned and operated. So the Perlick family is still heavily involved within the organization. So like I said, the Perlick's been around for 100 years. They are really kind of a staple in the Milwaukee market. Based out of there in Wisconsin, and really kind of got its start really coinciding with the beer boom when Milwaukee became the beer capital of the world, so to speak, or beer capital of America. Perlick kind of grew along with it, and we were fortunate to kind of ride that ride. But what's unique enough is Perlick didn't actually get its start in beer dispensing or any of that. They actually made its first product was battery couplers or battery terminals. So a bit unique that we didn't get our start in refrigeration, but innovation has always been something true to our core. And so, you know, it's a great company. But again, to your point of being, you know, American owned, family owned and operated for 100 years, and they're working on keeping it in the family for the next 100 years. So awesome. I love hearing that kind of stuff about an organization.
And another thing too is they started off with the commercial product offering, correct? Can you expand a little bit about that and when you all debuted into the residential market?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, most people historically know Perlick as a commercial company. You'll find us in over 60% of stadiums out there, new and even future stadiums. Most people are familiar with the product as well from the restaurant side of it. So go to any major restaurant, and odds are you've had a beer served out of a Perlick dispenser. So really Perlick got its start in the commercial side of the industry, whether, again, serving stadiums, restaurants, home brewers, the craft brew market. And about 16, 17 years ago is when Perlick made its first step into the residential market and really kicked off with the UnderCounter line and really haven't looked back since. You know, Perlick's made created a lot of unique things in the UnderCounter market. You know, before Perlick, there wasn't ever a fan in UnderCounter refrigeration. And when Perlick put a fan in UnderCounter, all of a sudden everybody puts a fan in UnderCounter. So it's been an exciting 16-year journey since we've been in the residential. Charlie, you've been selling Perlick for longer than I have. So anything else from a historical standpoint that you want to provide?
It's just the pinnacle product line, the highest quality, the best performance throughout from each category that Perlick produces and offers to the consumers. It's just a wonderful product. It's a long-lasting product. The customer's going to get their money's worth when they invest in a Perlick product.
And when you look inside of a Perlick, I mean, it's obvious from the moment you open the door, it's all stainless steel interior. Who has that? You know, and then you've got those wonderful pull-out shelves on the bearing glides that just pull all the way out, so you're not having to stand on your head to load and unload. I love that as well. And then the motors, you all did come up with another motor. Can you talk about how the motors, they are so fast in cooling down compared to other manufacturers?
Yeah, so our compressors in our UnderCounter refrigeration in our signature series are rated at 1,000 BTUs. Now, prior to me joining Perlick, whenever I talked about BTUs, it was in correspondence to cooking. No one really talks about BTUs when it comes to refrigeration. Well, it's because no one really has a story when it comes to that. So in our signature series product, like I mentioned, 1,000 BTUs. So we're able to move that warm air out so much quicker than some of the competitors out there who use a BTU of anywhere from 230 to 500 BTUs. So we're giving you twice the horsepower, twice the power. I sometimes like to jokingly say, as you know, Perlick is the kind of product that you kind of have to open up the hood and take people behind the scenes of it to really understand the value and see what you're really getting. It's kind of like Wizard of Oz a little bit. You got to take them behind the curtains and show them really who's doing the work. So, but yeah, the variable speed 1,000 BTU compressor is just an amazing piece. And couple that now with the new refrigerant that all the new product has at the R600. We not only have an extreme powerful, extremely, well-performing cooling unit, but now we're extremely energy efficient. So now we've got the largest portfolio of Energy Star products as well. So we've got the cooling and that efficiency story really kind of playing now.
Not to mention what it's helpful to the environment too.
Oh, 1,000%. The sustainability story, the amount of liquid used in the new refrigerant versus the old is light years difference. It's equivalent to about the same amount of liquid you find in a Bic lighter. Wow. So you see how little about that. Look at that's what operates these units at this point. So very low impact to the environment if there was ever a leak on those units.
So one of the things about Perlick is you have a wealth of offerings of under-counter refrigeration. But today I wanted to specifically talk about under-counter ice makers, because that is something that a lot of people want to have in their kitchen or the bar area, but they don't quite understand it. When I start mentioning that they need a gravity-fed, do you have a gravity-fed drain? Or, is it close to a drain so we can add a drain pump if you don't? People get to where, what? I mean, I don't have that in my freezer, the ice maker. Right. So I have a little elevator speech I do about the cold fractional distillation that Mr. Charlie Young taught me. So I've used that so often. But can you expand on what makes an under-counter restaurant style ice maker different than the one that you have in your regular fridge freezer?
It's really the quality.
Go ahead.
Go for it, Charlie. No, Charlie, I was only going to say was from my perspective, and I'll just say a real quick thing and I'll pass it to you, Charlie, it's the quality of the internal components. So the fact that we use stainless steel and metal augers and screws and components as opposed to plastic is one of the bigger driving points of the difference between your standard residential one and more of the commercial grade and commercial quality under-counter units.
But further
what the customer's going to get when they own a Perlick ice maker is they're going to get a kind of cube that has a very low mineral content in the cube once it's frozen, because the ice maker makes ice like an icicle. So it leaves the chlorine and the calcium behind and freezes what amounts to a clear ice cube. So when you put a number of our cylindrical top hat type cubes into a glass, and then pour, say, for example, a Coke over the top of them, you don't get a whole lot of foam fizzing up. You take a crescent shaped ice cube out of your traditional refrigerator, put that in a glass and pour soda over it, it's going to want to fizz up. It's going to release all the carbon dioxide that's dissolved into the Coke, and it's going to want to overflow. So you just have a better cube, better performing cube. It's actually just tasting the cube that tastes better, because essentially you have almost distilled water or RO quality water is what's making the cube up. It's just a better cube experience. We have two kinds of ice makers. We have one that makes a cylinder with a rim around the end of it that's called a top hat, and then we also make a nugget ice,
Very
which
popular.
is oftentimes called a Sonic ice, named after the kind of ice that you would get when you go to Sonic Drive-In. So it's a really
margaritas.
It's a really highly chewable, soft ice. It's great for sodas and tea and things like that. The nugget ice maker is also good with soda, but it's the kind of ice that you'd want to put into, for example, a mixed drink. So there's a couple different kinds of applications that will direct the customer to try to decide which type of ice maker to buy.
And I have customers that hate when their ice melts, especially quickly in their glass of, gin or whiskey or whatever, right? So that customer is definitely going to want to go towards the top hat. So we almost always put in the top hat version into a bar area, and maybe the nugget ice into the kitchen area, So when I explain that to customers, also too, the part about the cold fractional distillation, where it freezes at 32 degrees, correct, Charlie? As opposed to below. So solids just don't freeze at 32 degrees. So you can have a process in place where those minerals or those solids are sloughed off, right? So
exactly. So what happens as the machine circulates water on the top hat machine, it's freezing water to a mold on a molecular basis, and all the impurities that are in the water, any of the hardness, the chlorine, none of that sticks to the cube. So you end up with, again, when you look at an icicle like we saw recently in San Antonio, they're clear. And that's kind of what we call a clear ice maker. The Perlick top hat machine is a clear ice maker because it's freezing water in layers and making up the cube. And the nugget machine's a little bit different. It's going to have it's not clear because it's a nugget, and it's a different type of ice cube.
But it's still rid of all those solids and things.
Right.
So now on the gravity-fed drain, can we kind of explain why you need a gravity-fed drain or a pump to deliver the water, as opposed to a regular freezer that you would have, in your upright fridge freezer? So people would, why is that the case?
All of these, a clear ice maker, as it's freezing pure H2O into the cubes, it's going to have some excess water that's going to be concentrated in minerals and other things that are in the water. So periodically, every harvest or so, the machine's going to flush away this mineralized dense water so that it can replace it with new water that doesn't have as many minerals in it. So the machine's going to have to get rid of some water, and you can either do that by draining right down through the backside of the ice maker and into a floor drain, or and I think it's more common to have a pump, and they would drain the discharge water up into the plumbing that's underneath the sink. It's just many homes aren't going to have the plumbing poured into the foundations, into the slabs, to accommodate a gravity-fed ice maker.
Right.
It's just really more common to see customers using a pump.
But if you're planning to have a gourmet ice maker like the Perlick, it is a good idea to have that drain pump drained into the to the foundation, because it really and truly, especially in our area, Charlie, we have such hard water, and so if you have a pump, it's just one other thing that could go wrong.
Sure.
So I always recommend, if I'm talking to someone able to get them before they pour the slab, do yourself a favor, get that gravity drain into your slab. It makes it so much less hassle.
Especially
Go Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was to say, especially if you know in your area you've got hard water,
Oh,
like
God.
I'm up here in Northern California, the Sacramento area, and we have extreme hard water. So more often than not, most people are putting home purifying systems on there, and then it becomes less of an issue. But if you don't have that set up, I think you said that well put. So
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
then we also have customers that will try to, what they'll do is they'll add RO, a reverse osmosis system, and they will tie that in for their distribution of water. But I found that also to be sometimes an issue because it doesn't have enough water and it doesn't pump enough water at a certain flow rate. So if you had a larger, you could do a larger tank like what I did. I'm on a well, and you talk about hard water. I'm twice as hard as what San Antonio is. And I don't have good water. So I have a huge capacity tank. And then I put an additional pump to make sure I have the right PSI and the amount of water. So there are some things to consider when you have an ice machine to make sure that you get longevity, you have hassle-free. And speaking of hassle-free, they're not. Because you must clean them. Now I say all this, I love my ice machine, my gourmet ice machine. But again, I always try to educate the customer as when they're buying an ice machine, because it is so different than the one that they have in their upright fridge freezer that they don't even think about it. Maybe they have a water filter, they got a, alarm button tells them to change it out. But with a gourmet ice machine, you have to descale it or clean it every couple of months to 6 months, depending on what's going on in the house. Because even if you are not using the ice, it's making ice, melting ice, making ice, melting ice, correct?
And that's one thing too, a lot of people don't realize about a lot of these ice makers, the UnderCounter ones, is they're running almost constantly. So if you're not familiar and you haven't had one before, it's definitely something that they're going to have to get used to and just kind of be educated on. Ice makers are the one UnderCounter category that I think most people go into just thinking, oh, it's just like any other UnderCounter product, but there's so many more intricacies to it and so many other things to really kind of factor it into the customer. But the people that are going for these ice makers, I mean, they love their ice and they're passionate about their ice. Do without mine.
Exactly. And if you're educated, you know what to look for, then and understand, then I think you have a happier customer. The customer that's unhappy is the one that was blindsided. They had no clue as to why their ice maker is different or that it needed service. I had one customer, this is in the day when I sold a less expensive ice maker, no longer doing that. It has to be a Perlick. But she was going to put it in her kitchen on a wood floor. She did not have a gravity drain. So now she has two things, the pump, and since she has the ice maker. So I told her, frankly, I said, you're most likely going to see me, and be vigilant. And if you notice any water around the ice maker, look and see what's going on. Don't just think it was a couple of drops dropped here and there, because you could have a big mess, if that pump goes bad. And sure enough, she calls me up one day, years later, Denise, you told me, and sure enough, I see the water around my ice maker. And she didn't have any big issues, because she was vigilant. But she did not maintain it like she was told to do. You know how that happens. I mean, even my own household, I have empathy, because it may be 8 months. I've even had one time a year before I clean mine. I just lucked out. But I'm on a pump, and I have gone through a couple of pumps in my home. But I won't do without my ice maker. So again, it's just education, right? So on ice makers, Charlie, I can tell you have something to add to that. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to comment on pumps. As far as getting water on the floor, if you have your pump, the pump has to be installed into the ice maker. Properly installing the pump will prevent water from getting on the floor, because what will happen, let's say the pump fails and you have a tub full of ice, and that ice is doing some flushing away and the ice is melting. If the pump is designed so that if it fills up with water, there's a float switch inside the pump that shuts the machine down. And what will actually happen, it'll turn the power off to the ice maker. And when you come up to it, you'll just find a tub full of water. And that'll be a possible sign that your pump has failed. Now, so that means you got to have the tubing from the bottom of the ice maker to the intake of the pump watertight so that it can't leak. And so it's water on the floor oftentimes would be a sign of perhaps a faulty installation. If they do the install correctly, there should not be much chance of getting water on the floor.
Or a poor quality pump.
Yeah.
Like I said, just sell Perlicks now.
Now, you're having soft water in your home, and in San Antonio, a lot of us have soft water, and I think soft water is going to help you from the cleaning standpoint of the ice
Right,
maker.
it does. Yeah.
If you had no soft water and you were running our super hard water that comes out of our faucets in through this ice maker, then you're going to need to clean this thing probably once every 3 months.
Right.
Soft water, you could probably put it off to 6 months, 8 months. With RO water, you ought not to really have to clean it very often because there's nothing in the water to cause you any water-related issues on the ice maker. But there's other things that you have to tend to on the ice maker besides just the quality of the water. You got to go in there and periodically clean off the condenser coil. That's the coil on the bottom that gets warm, where it's rejecting the heat out of the water. Oftentimes you have pets in the house and that machine is pulling air in and pushing air out, and there's a finned coil in there that can get blocked with fuzz that needs to be removed. So that ought to be checked visually probably once every 6 months, just to make sure that the machine can run, breathe, and do its job as efficiently as possible.
So do you see any changes in the near future as far as what the ice makers are going to be offering as far as larger, or because these are 15 inches wide, meant to go underneath a typical, kitchen cabinet. They even have ADA versions as well. But do you see any changes in the near future?
Not necessarily in the near future. We do have plans in our roadmap to expand that line and really look at more seriously, specifically the sphere type ice cubes.
Oh, right.
The sphere cube is this latest craze when it comes to clear ice. The challenge obviously is producing more than 1 or 2 a day. So that's, some of the stuff that our team has got on our roadmap to really kind of work at and develop. One of the goals for us is, really to get back to being the ones that are driving and innovating and pushing the envelope when it comes to UnderCounter, and that includes the ice makers. So, there should be some exciting stuff coming from us over the next couple of years from ice makers.
I have had customers say they'd like to see larger sizes when they have the big parties, right?
Wider widths?
Yeah, wider widths with larger capacity. They'd like to see that. So on those spheres, so what do you think the big deal is about that? The look of it? Because I think the top hat is pretty much what that is in many versions.
Yeah, I was just going to say they accomplish the exact same thing. The sphere is more of an appeal. It's one big cube versus top hat has a few of them in there, but they both accomplish the same thing. Slow melting. They're not going to dilute whatever liquid you have in there. I heard you talking about whiskey. I always put clear ice cubes in my little Jameson, and it doesn't dilute it too quickly. It chills it down, and I still get to enjoy the taste of that whiskey without it being over diluted with that water. So they still accomplish the same thing. And actually a little hidden benefit of our top hat, especially if you fill it up in a bigger cup and it's a little more full, those cubes actually create a little bit more buoyancy. So when you go to drink it, they actually part, and so they don't knock up against your teeth. How often are you drinking a cup full of soda and it's got a bunch of cubes in there, and the cubes just hit against your teeth or it just overflows? So it's a weird little benefit, but I didn't think about it. I was trying to drink one time, obviously I had to do some market testing with some drinks, and I found, wow, it's not clinking against my teeth. It's a more enjoyable experience. So a little hidden benefit.
And another neat thing that they offer with Perlick is that they have indoor and outdoor versions, which is the same machine actually. So you could take that machine, it's stainless steel on the outside as well, and it has that great insulation. So you can even use that in our San Antonio outdoor backyards. I mean, that's pretty cool to have something like that. I would think that the more popular one would probably be the Sonic Ice, around the pool area, right? People
spot on. Putting it outdoors. We have a lot of times when you'll put the Sonic or the cublet ice maker next to even a beverage dispenser, and might have one of those beverage dispenser dispensing out soda or water or whatnot. But that cublet one is a real party pleaser, to say the least.
Or even like those flavor that you pump onto them, cherry flavors and things like that.
The shaved ice kind of stuff. Great call. Yeah.
So, and also if you wanted to have a more elegant bar area, or you just don't want to see it in the kitchen, you offer a version where you can put your wood door, a full panel, 3/4 inch
Mhm.
panel to match your other cabinets. So
Yeah.
it kind of disappears. It's fully integrated. I like that feature
Exactly.
too. That's
Yeah, some people more and more, the trend of wanting to have appliances blend in and not have that stainless steel panel is becoming a growing trend. So, having that capability to do custom panel is a
Yeah.
must.
Especially if you want to integrate it, say like I'm doing a Miele kitchen or something. Well, they don't offer ice makers, so it's
Mhm.
nice to be able to blend it in with the cabinet.
Correct.
That makes it really
Yeah.
nice as well.
Mhm.
So you all offer a lot of unique other under counter refrigeration. And we're going to talk in our next segment. We're going to have you back. We're going to talk about beer and wine because that is a whole separate issue. But I wanted to briefly touch about some of your other refrigeration. So so this is a new trend I see. We're seeing maybe a big upright fridge, but less freezer, maybe a big 36-inch all fridge and maybe under counter freezer or additional under counter fridges. We're seeing a lot of that happening. We don't want as much real estate in our kitchen taken up with these big mammoth, 72-inch wide fridge freezer kind of combinations. So one of my favorite things are your freezer drawers.
Yeah.
I have a 36-inch all fridge in my kitchen, and then I have the 24-inch freezer drawers. And you also have one that is a freezer and fridge, which I could have used because I use so little freezer space.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting concept.
Yeah, that's actually an industry exclusive product for us. No one else out there has what
Oh,
we call a dual zone fridge freezer unit. And what's awesome about that piece too is we have an indoor version and an outdoor rated version as well. So you can have that same experience outdoors. And I think you're spot on. I think the consumers are less of, needing that big freezer
right.
space because I think people are buying more organic, buying fresh, or a little bit more aware of less of freezing things and more having things fresh. I think is a continued growing trend. But I also think it's when people are storing things, they want to store it properly.
Mhm.
And to store things, when you store things in a traditional fridge freezer, it does a good job. It'll keep your ice cream cold. It'll keep the peas frozen, but it's not going to do the right kind of deep freeze for if you need it for some big heavy cuts of meat
Right,
or
exactly.
something that's a little bit more specific to those needs.
And they don't need to be in the kitchen proper. They can be in the utility room,
Mhm.
butler's pantry, something like that, where
Yeah.
it's away from, all that space in the kitchen.
Well, it's funny you say this. We're finding people put under counter appliances more than just in their kitchen or their wet bar. You're putting them in their bathrooms, their master
Exactly.
bedrooms, the endless applications of where these products can go. And Perlick with, our ADA compliant product, and even we have an 18-inch deep unit, really opens up
Industry exclusive.
yeah, it is absolutely industry exclusive as well. But opens up the opportunities of where these products can really go in the home and really add add value to the consumer's life at the end of the day.
That could be great for medications, especially like the
Mhm.
drawers. You
Yeah.
can do like a 15-inch fridge drawer bank in your master bathroom. So
Yep.
organic makeup, women are going more and more to makeup that doesn't have all these chemicals in it. So having
Yeah.
it in your, or creams, those sort of things. So having a place to put that in there to keep it,
Mhm.
at a certain temperature, or medications, that's a nice thing as well. So there's a lot of reasons why you would have, the drawers in your kit, your not your kitchen area, but your master
Absolutely.
vanity area, and put the wood doors on it, and you don't have that kitcheny look,
Right.
right? So that makes it nice.
We did that in a bathroom vanity and put custom panels on the door, and it just looked like it was part of the vanity.
Exactly.
But you open up the drawers and there's medication and lotions and like the things
Yeah.
you mentioned.
Bottled water,
Yeah,
that
right.
maybe a little wine spritz. I don't know.
Hey, I'll put a little 15-inch wine reserve in
Right.
the bathroom.
Uh,
Why not?
Nice, nice, nice. I like that thinking. Well, we have just overran our 30 minutes. It went by so fast, but we're going to have you back really soon. So I want to thank you so much for joining us and giving us this information, telling us about your wonderful company and why HomeWerks wants to offer Perlick? What made us think that you're such a great company? And you're the only ice maker. Oh, the warranty on your ice maker is 2 years. I don't think anyone else offers that, a 2-year warranty. And 3 years on your other UnderCounter refrigeration. That's awesome.
And actually, the new stuff that we've got set to come out that launches next month is going to have a 6-year warranty.
Oh my gosh.
The best in the industry.
The best.
So Perlick is really stepping up and backing that name up even more so.
So you can go to homeworkssa.com and see the full line of Perlick, or perlick.com has a great website that goes over everything. Be sure to go to the residential side because that's what you want to have here in your home, not the commercial. And this is why HomeWerks, we offer the best out there, and HomeWerks will make your HomeWerks better for you. See you guys real soon.